Welcome back to another episode of Let's Grow podcast, where we interview local entrepreneurs, local business owners to hear about them, what they do, and their journeys in business. And today we have Kristy Osborn with Fairway Mortgage. How are you doing, Kristy?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm doing fantastic because I had a weekend off from baseball. They end up canceling our practice on Saturday and our doubleheader on Sunday, and we were left with no plans. So I got a few things done around the house, and the wife was happy. So
A rare weekend
it
when that
is,
happens.
it is because we have a tournament this weekend. So
Oh,
there'll be 2 or 3 games a day. So it was a needed rest. So Christy, tell me a little bit about yourself and what you do.
yeah. So I am a mortgage equity planner. I work for Fairway Independent Mortgage. I'm a mom. I have three daughters, all grown, a wife, a fur-legged mom. We love our pets. And I've been in some capacity of the real estate industry now
Okay.
for 24 years.
Wow. And so all mortgage or just different aspects of it?
No, different aspects. I actually started doing what you do. I
Oh,
started as a realtor and I did that for 5 years.
okay.
My kids were little, and as we all know, and as people who don't know, realtors work a lot of hours and a
Yeah.
lot of weekends, a lot of nights. And so I was leaving my kids with my mom and my sister a lot. And so my husband and I decided that I would just do something different for a while. So I got in I was a home builder consultant for like a minute. And
Okay.
then I didn't like that. And so a friend of mine was in the title business. So I got in the title business and I did that for about 10 years before I moved to mortgage.
Nice, nice. So, like you said, in all aspects of real estate. So you've seen it all. You've been on the ground
Yes.
level from us working with clients to new construction to title and the back scenes of title, and then now mortgage. So what took you to want to move from, let's just say, since you were at title 10 years to now mortgage? What
Well,
kind of transaction was it?
when I got into title, I always thought it would just be until my kids grew and then I would be going back into being a realtor. I mean,
Mhm.
really, that's where my heart was. And in title, while yes, you're there with them for, maybe 3 weeks and 1 hour of closing, it's not the same as that one-on-one with a client that you take them through a process and you really get to know them. And I mean, there's some satisfaction in that. Really helping people is amazing. So I really wanted to get back into real estate. I knew at some point that I would do that. And so I was talking to a really good friend of mine and I was like, "Hey, I'm going to get back into real estate." And I'd been talking with a particular realtor that she knew about a position, and she left and she called me like 15 minutes later and she was like, "Have you ever thought about being a loan officer?" And I was like, "No, I really haven't." And so we had a couple of discussions over the course of the next few months, and I started the process of getting my federal license, which is not for the faint of heart. And I didn't tell anybody the day that I went to take the test because I was like, I don't want anybody to know.
Yeah.
I haven't taken tests in a long time. But I called her when I passed, and I was like, guess what I just did? And the rest is history. I have loved every second of it. Sh I should have done this at the very beginning of my career, although I'm glad that I didn't because the experience that I got through that process of understanding every aspect of it really does help me help my clients, help my realtor partners. So it was a good roundabout way that I arrived.
Yeah. Yeah. So what's unique that I heard you when you introduced yourself and right here on the screen is you call yourself a mortgage equity planner, right? A lot of people talk about, oh, I'm just a loan officer or I work with a mortgage lender, and I heard different titles, but I haven't heard somebody at mortgage equity planner. So where's the background come from that title and
Yeah.
why do you prefer using that title versus just loan officer?
Yeah. So about 6 years ago, my entire branch moved from one mortgage company to another mortgage company. And there was a product and a demographic that I always wanted to work with that I couldn't at my former company. they had the product, but they would only let certain people do it. And that's to work with the HECM or the reverse
Hmm.
mortgage product. And so the first thing I did when I moved to Fairway was to take the training, which is an intensive 3-day training about this product, and I delved right in and I haven't looked back. So when you think about your equity and you think about retirement, equity is a lot of times the biggest asset that older adults have. They
Hmm.
don't think of it in terms of how does this play into my retirement,
Yeah.
but they should be. And what we're seeing is a huge shift in the financial planning world where financial planners are starting to the light bulbs coming on and they're saying we need to be looking at this asset and how it can help our clients achieve their retirement goals. And so that's why I call myself a mortgage equity planner, because we're really talking about that equity and how does it play into retirement and how can we help someone live a better life?
Yeah. So do you see that majority of your business is now handling reverse mortgage, or is it kind of a mix, still helping first-time buyers, still repeat buyers moving up or moving down, as well as reverse mortgages?
Yeah, it's a mix.
Okay.
So I do both. About 60% of my business is in the reverse world, and about 40% is in the forward world, the way that's what we
Yeah.
call it. Um, but yeah, I mean, right now I've got a client who's 21 and I've got a client who's 86.
Wow.
So the full spectrum. And we're
Yeah.
working with a down payment assistance program and we're working with a refinance of a home.
Yeah.
So
So tell me a little bit more how or what is a reverse mortgage, right? Because I still feel that there's so many people out there, so many even agents out there that don't
yeah.
really know that product or how well. And sometimes when they hear it, they're like, oh, no, 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 you don't want to do that because I don't know, maybe agents are afraid of losing a sale or who knows what, right? So educate us a
Yeah.
little bit more on how beneficial a reverse mortgage is or how it works so that way our audience kind of knows a little bit more about it.
Yeah. So it is a product designed specifically for adults who are over the age of 62. Now, some states you can get mortgages at the age of 55, but not Texas. Texas is, of course, unique. So, and then if you're married, your spouse also has to be over the age of 62. You can do a reverse mortgage. I've done it with a mom and a daughter, both over the age of 62. So it doesn't necessarily have to be your spouse. Or if you live alone, of course, you can do it on your own. But it is designed to help older adults tap into some of that equity, make it liquid, whether it's to satisfy a cash flow issue, whether it's for some legacy planning, or if it's a buffer asset. Some people don't have anything to buffer what they have in the markets. They don't have
Hmm.
extra savings accounts. And so when you think about pulling money out of your accounts when the market is down, or maybe your account, it doesn't have enough in it to last you as long as you want it to last, or maybe you don't want to go over those required minimum, distributions
Hmm.
to avoid some income taxes. All kinds of reasons why someone might want to use a reverse mortgage or a home equity conversion mortgage to look at retirement planning.
Yeah. So how does it work if, let's say, you have a 65-year-old couple, right? Both of them over 65. They want to look into a reverse mortgage, right? Like you mentioned, they're kind of tapping into the equity. And let's say over the next 5 years, they gain any more equity. So how does it work when the home is still maybe appreciating? Are there any benefits to doing anything like that for them? Or like, how does that look like?
Yes, thank you for just leading me right down that path. So the most powerful tool of the home equity conversion mortgage is the line of credit. And the uniqueness of the line of credit of that product is that it has a growth rate equal to the rate on the mortgage. And so
Mm,
when you think about, okay, I don't necessarily need that money right now, but I'm planning for the future. I'm planning for if something were to happen to my spouse, could I afford to stay in this home? Either one of them, with that loss of that additional retirement income.
yeah.
Or maybe I know that my funds aren't going to last as long as I might last. So planning for the future, and you think about, I'm just going to put that in place and I'm going to set up a $50,000, line of credit. Well, if you wait 10 years, You may have $75,000 now that you can borrow
Mhm.
down from.
Got it.
So that growth rate is essential. I have a client who put a reverse mortgage in place at 62. He's still working. It's an optional payment, and a lot of people don't understand that. And so he's choosing to make a payment while he's still working. And when he retires, he's going to quit making payments. Well, when he retires, he's going to have about $150,000 more available to him in that line of credit as a buffer asset.
Got it.
So again, a lot of people think, oh, I don't want a reverse mortgage. I've heard horrible things about them, or I want to still own my home, or um they're going to come take my home, all these different things
Myths.
that
Yeah.
are just misnomers about the product. You still own your home, you still have title to your home, you can make payments if you want to. The line of credit is liquid, you can pull out, you can put in.
Yeah.
So a lot of people just don't really know everything, and that's why I do a lot of education about the product. I do a lot of consumer direct classes, I do a lot of real estate classes. There's a lot of realtors who don't know you can use that product to purchase a home.
Yeah. See, I
So,
didn't know that. I might have to have
yeah,
you come do a class for us because, like I mentioned, reverse mortgages sometimes isn't just something that we're too educated about, which we should, right, to be able to
yes,
service those clients. And like you said, there's a lot of myths out there where people think, oh, well, I'm not going to own my house anymore. Yet you just said, yes, you still own your house, you still own the title and stuff like that. And I
yeah,
really can see how you mentioned like this would be a good product, a good, something for an older couple who maybe doesn't have that retirement for that have talked about financial advice. I talk to financial advisors all the time on a weekly basis, right? And a lot of them say, somebody who's coming to them at 70 years old to want to start, building some type of retirement. Well, heck, it's almost too little, too late, right?
yeah,
Because a lot of our older friends, we weren't, educated back in the day that how
right.
important it is to have that. And so that's why we kind of preach it now to younger generations, like, hey, you need to start building your wealth now. You need to start building different ways of that retirement. I'm about to be 40, and I tell my wife all the time, like, even being self-employed, it's like we probably won't even have Social Security when I reach that age in the next 20 years. You just never know, right?
All right.
And so that's a good product that you offer for these individuals who didn't have any type of retirement set up, right? Where they can possibly still utilize and, like you mentioned, have that cash flow every month.
Yeah. There's actually more equity sitting in older adults, 62 or over, more equity sitting in like $13.2 trillion worth of equity, more than in any IRAs, 401ks, more than in any debt. It's crazy the amount of equity that there is in America with our older adults. And they need to know that that is an option for them. I mean, I've done everything from like the gentleman that I told you about to someone who's on a $1,200 fixed income and making an $800
Hmm.
mortgage payment and choosing whether he's going to make his mortgage payment or eat that week. We
Yeah.
don't need our older adults suffering like that.
No,
And so we did a reverse mortgage, got him out of the payment. And that, I mean, obviously we need them to be able to eat.
yeah.
So there's two ends of the spectrum.
Yeah.
There's folks who are doing it for retirement planning. There are folks who are doing it for, hey, I need that cash flow.
Yeah, definitely. So what have you seen as, you've been in realtor, title, new construction, mortgage. Where do you see is there some consistency between any of the industries or any business owner out there really that for people to make it, right? Obviously in our industry right now, mortgage and real estate side of real estate agents, there's a fallout rate, right?
Yeah.
So what has made you successful, right? And what can you tell some of the people out there, and give them some maybe two or three tips of what they need to be doing on a daily basis
Yeah.
to stay and not be able to say, hey, I'm leaving the business because not because they want to, it's because they have to because
Right.
they weren't properly trained or educated on what to do.
Right. And I do think that when you think about real estate, it's very cyclical, and you've got to plan for the down periods. And that's not something that you can tell someone when you're in a down period. So it's something that if they can survive and stay the course through this tough period that we're going through right now, then they're going to come out ahead because you keep doing those consistent things. Even if you have to go get a job, and I know some realtors who've done that, stay consistent with your disciplines of staying in touch with your past clients, of doing your promotions, of your mailers, your whatever it is you're going to do for your business. Keep doing that if you want to come back,
Yeah.
because things will come back. We are already starting to see some give in that market with rates. That's going to, of course, entice people. People are always going to move. They are, and they're going to need someone to help them. And those of us who can stay the course will be here and ready to help our clients when they're ready. And
Yeah.
I will also say diversification is what's helped me, because the market that I'm in is not as impacted by the economy as like that forward side of the business. And so I mean, I will preach John Blue in the face to real estate agents. This is a great, number one, they're a great group of people to work with. And number two, nobody's helping them.
Yeah.
They don't know. I talked to two ladies who moved into active adult
Mhm.
retirement communities where they're renting. And they both said, I wish I hadn't done it, but now I'm stuck, because they don't realize that there's a product out there that can help them buy a home in a community that fits them, where they don't have to go into any type of assisted or independent living if they don't want to.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, and that's what's been great, right? Where you mentioned like, you know, you diversified yourself, right? You didn't just say, "Hey, I'm only going to do refis," and or I'm only going to help first-time home buyers. You help everybody, right? And then when
Yeah.
this unique product came, you dove right into it to educate yourself for these downturns where maybe your business isn't as affected as somebody who solely built the business on, refis, right? What happened when the rates fell, COVID years, right? At twos and threes, loan officers dug deep and just did nothing but refis.
Yeah.
Now that the industry has moved and shifted a little bit, they're leaving the business because nobody's refining right now, right?
Right.
At a high
Yeah.
level like they were doing, and they just didn't know how to go find and get the business, to help them continue to
Right.
be in the industry, and
Those
that's
are skills, and skills that you need to hone. And if you just have everything coming to you and that's all you've ever known, you don't know what to do. You're like, wait, my phone's not ringing anymore. What do I do now?
hmm. Yeah, and they have to go get a regular job, and
Yeah.
there's no wrong about that, but when you spend so many hours to get your license and this is something you want to do and you enjoy doing, yet you just weren't trained and educated right of how to do it,
Yeah.
and you're like a deer in the headlights where you're like, holy crap, this is how hard it is to stay in this industry and to eat. And it's like, yeah, this
Right.
is what it takes. They're not ready for that. They weren't prepared for that, and so they have to get out of something that they pretty much probably enjoy doing.
Right.
Yeah. So what are you reading right now? Are you a reader? Are you audiobooks, podcasts?
I am a reader.
Okay.
And right now I'm reading Broken Soundtracks. I think it's the name of it, Broken Soundtracks. And it's about those things that we tell ourselves
Mm,
that aren't true and how to get out of that mindset. And I just started it. So good so far. And then I'm rereading Miracle Morning,
yep.
because he redid it, or he added some stuff to it. I've read it before, but I'm rereading it again. And because I've gotten out of some of those habits that I
Mhm.
got into when I first got that book.
Yeah.
So those are I'm reading, I read a lot of things at the same time, which people think is weird, but I love to read. And I'm reading a fiction book too. So I'm reading three books at the same time,
Yeah. So what
but I'm
is
okay with that.
something, yeah. So what is something you learned from that broken soundtrack one? Like you mentioned, like I may have to pick that one up because you said it's the same
Yeah.
thing that we play in our head, right?
Yes.
And so
Yeah.
what is something you've already learned from that book? Because I know you just started it.
I did just start it, and he spends really the first chapter talking about um, the broken soundtrack that he basically told himself for
Mm,
years, and how how devastating that was to his success and how simple it is to change that mindset because what we tell ourselves we believe is true. And
Mm,
so I haven't gotten to like how he did it yet because that's coming,
yeah.
but the first chapter already has intrigued me to say, hey, I mean, I'm in my 50s, and so I've had a lot of years of broken soundtracks that I need to correct. And of course, I don't know how you feel about this, but I feel like as I've gotten older that they get a little worse
Yeah.
because you have more experience and you have more, failure, or maybe you're not where you thought you wanted to be.
Oh yeah.
And so there's a lot of things that, go through your head. Well, I think he was in his 40s when he wrote this, I think. So, um, I'm looking forward to what more he has to
Yeah.
say.
Yeah, and it's true what you said, right? Even as we get older, like even for myself, right? There's days where I'm like, man, I don't think I know what I'm doing in real estate. And maybe it's because I view myself as I should be here, yet I'm still here. But yet when I talk to like my wife or one of my mentors or my coach, and he's like, all right, pull up your sales for like the past 10 years. And he's like, look at what you've done. You've
Yeah.
helped over 300 people. You stop telling yourself that, right? But it's like what you said. Sometimes we can't get that out, and we have to
Mhm.
change that mindset and say, "Well, shit, maybe I do know what I'm doing." I mean, let me go ask the 300 people I've helped in the past years and
Right?
ask them if they know what I'm doing. But yet, as I get older, sometimes we still play that soundtrack in our heads of, and we get in our little ruts. Any business owner out there, right?
Yeah.
It's hard, right? It doesn't matter what industry you're in. If you are starting a business today or if you've been in business 20 years, right, you're going to have those peaks and those valleys. And there's going to be days where you tell yourself, I'm done. I don't want to do this anymore. But yet you got to pick yourself up and change that mindset.
Yeah. Yeah. And our thoughts are so powerful and we don't realize how powerful they are.
Yeah.
And so, some people might, okay, a gratitude journal or, self-statements that you're going to make in the morning, those reaffirming
Affirmations.
statements. Some
Yeah.
people think, oh, that's just woo woo or whatever. It's real because we are our own worst critics in most of the things that we say and
Yeah.
see about ourselves.
Yep. And I first to admit, I tell people all the time, like when some of my mentors are like, yeah, I do affirmations every day. And I'm like, are you doing that corny shit? Like, are you serious? Like, they're like, no, it works. And then I'm like, you know what? Let me just give it a shot. And it truly works, right? I may
Yeah.
look ridiculous or sound ridiculous saying it to myself every day in the mirror, but yet it helps.
Yeah.
And I was the first one to say, my bad.
Even if it
Um,
makes you laugh at yourself.
and it does, right? And so those, like you said, affirmations, writing in your gratitude journal. But really, I think you got to have those accountability partners sometimes to snap you out of your own ways
Yeah.
too, and or maybe even networking groups or just your tribe or your small circle of people that you talk to all the time, and you got to make sure they have the ability to kind of snap you out of things too, right? You don't want them to just cheer you on when you did something bad and they're like, "Oh, you did a great job," and it's like, no, tell me the truth. Like, do I suck at what I do? How I said
Yeah.
it? You have to have that constructive feedback from people in order to grow and in order to get better, right?
Yeah.
As a business owner, as a person, because if you just surround yourself around the cheerleaders, and then you have that one client, that one customer that comes and says, "Holy shit, you're horrible." Imagine how yourself would be. Like you just mentioned, we're our worst critics. That one client comes in and says you're the worst person I've ever met because you're dumb or whatever it is that they tell you, and then you start having those self thoughts of like,
Yeah.
crap, I don't know what I'm doing, and it's because you were surrounding yourself by the wrong people, right? I tell a lot of my friends now and my accountability partners like, tell me what I need to hear to snap me sometimes out of my ways, right? Don't
Yeah.
don't cheer me on all the time. Yes, we celebrate the wins, don't get me wrong, but if we're not celebrating the losses or you're not giving me feedback from these losses, then how am I ever going to get better?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So what kind of hobbies are you into? So you read, but do you have any hobbies?
I'm a total nerd. I like
Okay.
to read, I like puzzling, and I like playing games with my family.
you're gonna get along right with my wife and us because she's always doing puzzles, right? And sometimes she'll just sit there at night and just do them by herself, and that's her way. That's what she likes to do, right? She does gardening and puzzles, but yeah, we do puzzles. Like even when we go on vacations, we're getting ready to go on one, and at our Airbnb, we'll have a new puzzle that we take and we
Yeah.
knock it out during that week or whatever, right? So yeah, we do puzzles as well, and we like to have game nights too. So. It's
Yeah.
not
Those are
nothing nerdy
fun.
about that. Or am I a nerd? I don't know which one is it. Am I
I'm
am
calling
I a
you a nerd
nerd
too,
or is
I
there nothing
guess.
nerdy about it?
Yeah, you're not going to find me out. I don't, I mean, I'm a homebody. So
Yeah,
I'm what do they call it? A introvert, extrovert, an
yeah,
extroverted introvert,
yeah.
something like
Gotcha.
that.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. Yeah. And sometimes I feel like I'm the same way. So let me ask you, if you could ask or tell maybe a younger self of you, 15, 16-year-old, of what you've learned so far in life, in business, if you can go back in the future and tell yourself something, what would you tell yourself?
Everything passes. Don't take things too seriously.
Yeah.
Enjoy life a little more. Don't be so hard on yourself.
Yeah. And that's great the way you put it. Everything passes, right, guys? It doesn't matter what's going on in life and what you have in business, it's going to pass, you know?
Yeah,
And so it'll be okay, right? Like you
right,
mentioned, everything passes. That's some great advice for all you young entrepreneurs out there. When you do, there will be hardships, there will be challenges in business, but it will pass. You just got to stay on the right path and
right.
keep going. And so everything passes. I like the way you put that. Good, 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 good. So what's next for Kristy? Is there anything you have that you foresee in your near future that you're trying to get to or you're trying to achieve or something that you may start?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to stay the course with helping older adults in retirement. I will do this until I retire. That's my plan. I want to help as many people as I can. Really amping up my education, and I'm starting a podcast.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
What's it going to be
So if
about?
people want to follow me on YouTube, I am a home wealth guide, I think is what I've called it. But Kristy Osborn.
Yeah.
Um, and just interviewing folks who work with older adults. It's going to be all be focused on the services and the fun and the wisdom that's out there for that second chapter of our lives.
Yeah. That's awesome. I can't wait to hear it because there's so many nuggets and I forgot who says it, maybe Gary V or somebody, one of these big influencers out there where they talk about, you know, you should go to like a nursing home and just talk to them. Talk to them about life and you'll get so many lessons from that and from these people. And so I'm excited to hear about your podcast because, like you mentioned, it's going to be more catered to the older adults and stuff like that, and just kind of hear some of the wisdom and the nuggets that maybe we don't know yet, right?
Yeah. And
Um,
I feel like there's a lot of things out there that people don't realize, um, from how Medicaid works to all your choices on Medicare to vacations that are specifically geared towards older adults. Um, and when you think about maybe you're not in the best of health, and can you still travel? 100% you can.
yeah, yeah. And one thought that I just thought of was, well, one thought that I just came to mind when you mentioned that is a lot of our older adults aren't going to go and Google this stuff. Right.
No.
So us as business owner have to be able to have the resources available so that they can get educated properly and know what's out there because some of them, was sitting in one of our networking meetings this morning and they mentioned, they changed some of their processes to go to online payments or something. And there was a customer that says, no, I'm still going to write you a check and I'm still you either going to pick it up or I can mail it in. And it's like, no, yes, we will. And it's right because sometimes our older generations out there they don't want to know technology or they don't care for it And if us as business owners are only moving towards the technology things, there's just so many people out there that can use our help that we aren't talking to, right? And that's what we have to do. Like you mentioned, people can still go on trips. People can still get reverse mortgages or buying a house or selling a house.
Yes.
Yet we're not communicating with them the proper way, the channels that they like and
Yeah.
they seek, you know. So that was good advice right there. So Kristy, before we wrap up, what are some things that you can tell our audience, whether it's what you do, what maybe they need to go out and try and do for business? You know, if we're helping somebody grow their business, what are one or two nuggets that you can give to them that they can leave away with today, more so of the other ones that we've already shared, that can help them?
I mean, I feel like that you need to not narrow your focus, but have a narrowed focus. So don't
Mhm.
try to do everything. Pick one or two things that, in my case, it's three or four that you want to focus on when we think of, and this is going to be different for every industry, but for me, it's like, where are my best referral partners? Where do I want to spend my time talking about what it is that I do? And so, for me, that's like working with financial planners, it's working with realtors, it's working with people who provide services, to older adults. So there's you think about, well, I could expand that focus. There's like probably 10 to 15 things I could focus on, but if I did that, I would be all over the place.
Yeah.
So pick a few, go deep with those few, and be consistent with those few. And if you're like, well, I don't know where to start, just start with one
Hmm.
and go deep with that one and be consistent in. Don't be a secret agent. Don't let it be a secret what it is that you do. Let people know and talk about how you can help people. And I think that's a big an important thing. Focus on how you help people. Don't focus on yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's like what you mentioned, you have to have that narrowed focus on the activities that you're doing, right? Even in our networking groups, right? I tell
Yeah.
people all the time, they're like, "Oh, I want to start networking." I'm like, "Cool, I'll invite them or whatever." They come and they throw their business cards to everybody who's in the room, and then they never show up again. And it's like, "Hey, Matt, networking doesn't work." And I'm like, "No, it does. You just don't know how to do it very well."
Right.
And it's like you have to show up consistently, but you have to build those relationships with the people you gave that card to, right? It's like with agents, they say, "Hey, I mailed a postcard. I can't wait till I get all this business from this one postcard that you mailed." Yet, what do? As homeowners, we throw them in the trash. It's probably not until the 10th or 12th postcard that we get that I see your information on there, right?
Right.
Same thing works in everything else. You have to have that consistent, narrowed focus on the one, two, three, four, five activities that you want to do and go through there. And if it doesn't work, then maybe even change your approach on how you're doing
Yeah.
it or change the whole entirety source that you're using, right? But you definitely, like you mentioned it, you have to be consistent in the things that you do and the activities that you're trying to do. You can't just, do it once and expect results. I mean,
Right.
it's that consistency. So, how can people get a hold of you, whether they have questions about buying their first home or they have more questions about reverse mortgages and everything in between?
Yeah. Real easy to get a hold of me. It's my name, Kristy.Osborn at fairwaymc.com, or they can call me. Not a lot of people want to call, believe it or not, in that demographic. So it's 972-841-9147.
Awesome. Thank you so much, guys. If y'all have any questions related to reverse mortgages or buying your first home, be sure to give Kristy a call or shoot her an email. She's great to work with, tons of clients that love her. And she can actually educate you and help you with the right information that you may not be getting at other places, guys. So thank you so much for being on our podcast today, Kristy. I truly
Yeah.
appreciate it. It was awesome. And I can't wait to hear your podcast come out as well.
Thanks.